Hey guys, and welcome back to Feminism 101. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about feminism in politics. So, one thing I want to touch base on is women oppression in other countries besides America. And first, I wanted to talk about women oppression in Mexico. One of my sources that I read is Feminism, Transmissions, and Retransmissions by Marta, Lamas. And she talks a lot about how oppression in Mexico is more within a marital sense. Like, women are very oppressed by their husbands and by their fathers and, like, in a family-oriented rather than corporate-wide or, like, on the bigger scale as, like, we kind of see here. And this source is like a really great one if you ever wanted to read on your own. It includes tons of stories about different activists over the last 35 years. Another big one is how feminism in Iraq, which this source that I have is from 2003. It's an article by Starhawk, and it talks about how during the Iraq War, women were needed to be nurses and all that, but men wouldn't let them because they didn't think that they were capable, which I think is just a perfect example of how we let this misogynistic view stand in the way of social progress and things that actually need to be done. So that's just oppression in other countries, just something I want to talk on before I get into our political stance with feminism in the US. So the first thing I want to talk about with women oppression in politics within the US is this current criminal justice system war on women. I'm not sure if you've heard of this, but this basically refers to the fact that the incarceration rate of women within the last 10 years has nearly doubled. And there's just so many factors that go into this. Specifically, it has to do with that women get trapped into these abusive relationships that they feel like they have to do whatever the man says and take the fall for him, like criminally, like with drug dealers and stuff like that. And the justice system doesn't do anything to help them. Instead, they try to get their incarceration rate up and lock them away, keep the streets safe, instead of trying to find the actual criminal. And this is just part of the issue. Another big part of the incarceration issue is that when they are incarcerated, these sentences are beyond what they need to be. We're talking 24 years for a drug bust, whereas the normal rate, if it was a man, would be 5 to 10. This goes on and on and on. The source I'm using is the Huffington Post, and it's just insane how fast this incarceration rate is growing, and it's just going to keep going unless we get someone to stand up against it, unless we use feminist activists to prove that this isn't okay. Another big issue I wanted to talk about politics and feminism is the abortion laws. This is a huge one, and it's a big case of women's rights. This is what feminism is all about, is fighting for women's rights, fighting for equality, all that. And abortion is always a huge topic when it comes to that. I feel that a woman should have a right to choose whether or not they would like to have an abortion or not. And our recent political stance is kind of taking that option away. For example, the newest ban by President Trump started on October 3rd of this year, 2017, and it says that abortions are no longer allowed after 20 weeks of pregnancy unless it's a case of life or death for the mother or involving rape or incest. This is different than the act that was passed in 2015 of 26 weeks of where you could get an abortion, so he just took away 6 weeks time span there. And also, we're trying to take away these abortion laws to lessen abortions, yet President Trump passed a bill that basically lets bosses dictate whether or not your health insurance plan can cover birth control, which I just feel like contradicts itself. Like, if you're trying to limit abortions, why would you limit people's access to contraception? It just doesn't make any sense. But basically, these are just two really huge facts that go into like our current political stance on feminism and all that, and this is why we all need to speak up to get action to stop this. We just really need to speak up against these kinds of things and against our current political system, because these things just keep on happening, and soon women are just going to have less rights. Basically, everything that feminism is supposed to be going for is being pushed against. So that's basically it. I just wanted to take a short video, kind of go over oppression in other countries and then all the political things going on currently in ours, and how kind of show how we still need feminism to fight against these kinds of things and to push for women's rights, women's choices, all these kinds of things. So that's it, and that was pretty much my last content video. I'm going to have one more video kind of wrapping everything up next time, so stay tuned for that, and bye.